Everybody out there that sees me, yeah, they know me as Alex Thomas, the comedian, the actor, and all that. But that's truly where it all started. Like, when I ended up being a comedian, I really did talk about my life growing up. And the neighborhood that we grew up with, it was like gangsters with two parents. You know, these guys were like gangsters that got a mama and a daddy at the house. You know, people didn't know that 5 minutes from the Beverly Center, there was Mansfield's. You know what I mean? Mansfield's, you know, I guess I'm OG age, so they started off as hustlers. They used to be MFH. And then as the years went by, you know, it became, you know, Gangster Crip. The bus stop on Olympic in La Brea, you know, there used to be a place called Pops. Before it became Taco Bell, see, cats that were coming from either the jungle or cats, they were coming from schoolyard neighborhood to get to LA High. They had to go up La Brea and get off the bus stop and then go east on Olympic. But see, what happened was was Mansfield neighborhood. So all of, you know, the Mansfields were going to John Burroughs and Fairfax. So it was a whole lot of craziness that went down right there on the corner of Olympic and La Brea. There was East Side cats, you know, there was Inglewood, there was Watts, there was Compton. You come to like Mansfield hood, you know, we talking from, you know, Pico and Fairfax and La Brea and John Burroughs, and, you know, people that know this right now know about Burger King back in the day, off of Wilshire, leaving John Burroughs, you know, all the way to Fairfax, Hamilton, LA. That side of town, it was like a lot of these guys, if you saw them at the Beverly Center back then, you probably wouldn't even know they were gangsters. All the Mansfields called me like the honorary Mansfield, just because I grew up in the same neighborhood, you know what I mean? But, you know, they always kind of protected me because I never was involved in the gang. I never, you know, got in fights and that kind of stuff. They just kind of were always super protective of me. But Ronnie was one of those dudes with just like, yeah, he was doing his thing, but he had a great personality. Ronnie and me used to battle dressing. Like, Ronnie was one of the first dudes I come to school. When I say this, it's gonna bring back a whole lot of Mansfield memories, anybody over 30. Ronnie used to be decking Deodoras. I mean, you remember with Deodoras?
The white ones with the blue stripes?
The white ones with the straight navy blue stripes. You know, shout out Dion Best, shout out Puppet, shout out Zoyo, you know what I mean, all the OG Mansfields. But that was like, you know, Fila BJs. Ronnie used to keep some Fila BJs on deck.
Everyone knew Mansfield MFH stood for Mansfield Hustler, but at JB, they also added the acronym Money, Fila, and Hoes.
Money, Fila, and Hoes.
Of the money that they was trying to get.
Money was what they were getting. Fila's was like the uniform. Fila, and back then we called it Fila BJ. When you get older, you realize Bjorn Borg, the famous tennis player at that time, BJ stood for Bjorn Borg. But, you know, in the hood, we just said Fila BJ. They really didn't, you know, niggas weren't following tennis. Looney was always dipped head to toe. A lot of people didn't know I grew up in that neighborhood. They didn't know that I was from the Mansfield, you know, whole circle. So I ended up making a name for myself. But one thing I never forgot is I never forgot where I came from. His workings to try to change not only his life around, but he always was preaching about change, trying to make a difference. So when he got with the American program with Jim Brown, he invited me to go to the prisons, to go to the youth authority camps. I remember Ronnie hooked me up and I went in there and did a show for 150 lifers. All because of Looney, you know what I mean? And I was terrified, nigga. I was terrified, but I went in that motherfucker and killed. I do 60, 70 cities a year, but this was a true test as a comedian. Like, you know, if I can go in there, like I felt like if I can kill in prison, there's no comedy club on the planet, you know, like, and I always thank him for that, because that helped, that made me super tough, super hard, because if there's ever a tough crowd, it's 150 killers. His whole thing was, if I can make these guys laugh, if I can get them on a positive road, it'll calm down that anger and that, you know, that side of them in jail. People that think everybody in the hood is bad. Think anybody south of Wilshire is a gang-banging, drug-dealing, crackhead/dealer. No, not everything in the hood is bad. I'm a great example. I came from it and I made something out of it. Ronnie went hard in the paint for that American program. He went hard in the paint. I mean, he was trying to help these young kids, these young guys who you know, really don't have no guidance, like they were his kids. Man, when I heard that he was murdered, my whole thing is, just, tell me this is like a dream. Tell me this isn't happening. You know what I mean? Just tell me this is happening, because the first thing that went through my mind is how much he was about changing this thing around. When they told me he was murdered, it hurt me, it was hard to believe. But the thing that made it worse is when I found out it was a young kid. Because that kid didn't know he was trying to help people just like you. A gun is as easy as going to buy some fucking Red Vines or cigarettes or Sprite. Guns nowadays, it's unfortunate, it's like going to buy a pair of Air Force Ones. It's like going to buy an LA Dodger cap. If you ask that kid, why do you have a gun? I bet you he's gonna say, I gotta protect myself because of the way these streets are now. And of course, that was horrible fucking judgment. You took somebody's life. I don't know that kid's situation. I don't know if he didn't get love at home. I don't know if he didn't have a mama or a daddy. Somebody that's like my age, that you knew so long is gone now.